is always a hope. Rise and fight.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to season 14 of BSL, and it is going to be bigger than ever. So many stories happening right now. First of all, we have the Chinese players joining in earnest. We have the legend returning. You have J-Star. You have Mihu back to defend his title. You've got guys like DeWalt, Bonyth, looking to reclaim the title. You've got guys like my co-host here, Gypsy, looking to get his first BSL title and take the championship to North America for once. I'd love to see that. You've got other guys like Zeke that are playing out of their mind. You have people like coming up from Gosu League, graduating, Squall in the bracket today, Cadenzi down the line. And I don't know what it is. It just feels like it's electric. Even talking to, I think it was Exit yesterday, down even in Chobo League, they're talking about how the MMR is all the way up to like 2100. And these guys are playing, like, I just look at the field right now, and it's just an incredible field of players. I'm extremely excited. And also, I want to just give a big congratulations to Zero. First time, full-time hosting. He has dedicated himself 100% to doing this. So everybody make sure, throw those bits, sub, follow, spread the word, join the Patreon. How you doing, Gypsy?
Well, it's good to finally be back. You know, BSL has been on hiatus for a couple months now, but we're back in full force, like you mentioned, and the storylines couldn't be bigger this season. And of course, I mean, coming back in force because our lovely Zeros just full-time, you know, tournament organizing now. And this is just BSL 14, guys. This year, we're going to have at least 3 more BSLs. They're going to be absolutely action-packed. Let me tell you, the plans this year are going to be insane. I'm not quite sure just how much of that we've unveiled or we're ready to talk about. But guys, I mean, BSL this season, or this season and this year, it's going to be bigger and better than ever. And like Diggity said, I mean, just stacked talent everywhere you look. Gosu League, Chobo League, Pro League, Chinese are here. Basically, everyone outside of Korea is participating in this tournament. Truly the most international, kind of prestigious tournament there is. And it's only been growing, man. I remember it was a couple of years ago when Blizzard announced that they would support several seasons of the BSL. And, you know, that got us to BSL 10 and what a culmination that was. And now we're here, BSL 14, even without Blizzard kind of supporting, and it's bigger and better than ever. So yeah, man, I mean, I'm as excited as you are. You mentioned all the storylines. Today, of course, it's the first day of the round of 24, and we have a really awesome group, man. So I don't know, maybe take us through the players that are going to be playing today.
I'm going to throw this back at you in a minute and ask you, do you think this is the group of death? Because when I look at this, first of all, there's Bonyth.
Yeah.
And Bonyth is Bonyth. He's an incredible player.
Yeah.
He's had a little bit of weakness versus Zerg, but honestly, I think he's probably easily going to be able to overcome Squall. Squall, unfortunately, I think he's going to have the hardest time in this bracket altogether. I talked to him in the background. He's been doing some training with Technics in the background. He's an honor Zerg player. He plays he plays the meta, and he plays the meta very, very sharply. He's a very thoughtful player on top of that. But he tried to make some adjustments here and there. It didn't end up working out for him. In fact, this last week, he ended up dropping some games to Dragon. I would actually put Janhu and Bonyth above Dragon's level of play. And Janhu, I had trouble finding games where he was playing, but he looks like an incredibly strong Protoss player to be going up against, especially starting off. And then you also have UltrA. And UltrA, I know a couple seasons ago in season 11, you're like, I don't know that UltrA can take body. It was like when I was looking up stuff in the background. Then you're like, actually, UltrA's looking pretty good. And UltrA right now is looking like an extremely strong Terran player. I'm not sure honestly, I think he might even be able to take some games off Bonyth here and there. But we'll see. Bonyth is just so strong. And I know that he's probably got a fire lit under him, especially dropping to Zeke last season. He had COVID then. I don't think he has COVID now, and I guarantee you he wants to reclaim that title.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Bonit obviously was not too happy. I think you could see it some of his streams, you know, afterwards. Like, Bonit always expects kind of the highest of himself, but yeah, I mean, you're right, Diggity. I think one thing this season that's really going to shake up, especially the round of 24, you know, generally in the round of 24, you would think that there's kind of like a solid top 2 in each group, but this time around with all the Chinese players incoming, it really kind of just has drastically pushed the skill level up. And yeah, I'm not quite sure how good John Hoon is. I'm really interested to see him play today, but I mean, just looking at this group, like you mentioned, again, Bonyth, Ultra, John Hoon, and Squall. I mean, Bonyth has got to be a clear favorite here, but second place, I think, is really up in the air. I think also Squall is probably the underdog in this group, but he can definitely make an upset happen. Now, first match is going to be Ultra versus Bonyth. And like you mentioned, I think Ultra has been kind of one of the up-and-coming players in the past several seasons here. And he really is kind of contesting these days that top South American kind of Terran slot with Dandy, and he has really good results. He's had really good results in the past couple BSLs. You know, last season made it into the round of 16, and the season before that he had made it into the top 8. So really, Ultra here kind of has been improving steadily, and he's at a really high level. But against Bonyth, definitely an underdog.
Yeah, Bonyth, just with his Reaver micro, just seems to be able to carve Terran up every single time. And it's fantastic to watch. But what's incredible about this group this time as compared to, yeah, and I think you're right, in the round of 24, previously in the round of 24, you're like, these guys aren't going to make it. These guys don't stand a chance. And these are the clear favorites going through. This time I look across the round of 24 and I don't see a single group where I'm like, oh yeah, this is definitive. Like even here, I don't think Bonyth can take this lightly. He's going to have to play his best going through this group. And I think if he pulls off the pedal a little bit, he potentially could fall to Ultra, and he could potentially fall to the other players coming out of the other side of the bracket. So I think he needs to play his best game here. But yeah, I don't know. There's something about those South American Terran players, man. Terra, Dandy, Ultra, they really are getting just stronger and stronger.
Yeah, and Goku as well. But the first map is going to be Ascension, guys. The game is ready. So without further ado, let's get into the first game of the BSL Season 14, first season of 2022. Let's go.
Okay, starting in the bottom left-hand corner, as our blue Terran, we have Ultra.
Ooh, and the colors switched on us. In the bottom right, it is Bonyth in the red. No, but actually Ultra is still blue, so luckily for him. But Bonyth, you know, he was gray, but now he's that race car red, that nice gold nexus. But Ascension is going to be the first map here in the round of 24, and I believe that the first game is always going to be best of 1, right? And then
yes,
the subsequent games are going to be best of 3, as if I can get confirmation.
Best of 1 to sort it out, and then best of 3 from there on.
Yeah.
And this is on Ascension, which has a lot of room. Like, it's based off Blue Storm. You have huge areas to drop and maneuver shuttles and reavers and things like that. I don't know. As far as an initial map, what would you do going up against Bonyth if you were Ultra here?
Well, what would you do going up against Bonyth? Bonyth, as a PvT player, you know, he's very strong, but he is very one-dimensional. You know, it's gonna be carriers. I mean, there's just no doubt about it. And so, you know, as a Terran player against carriers, you're thinking about just kind of having a solid game, just solid early game, and that's what makes it hard, because Bonyth, being such a micro player, he's like very aggressive. He likes, as you mentioned, using Reavers, but also when he opens up with Zealot harass into Reaver harass, really tries to put a dent in the Terran economy. And you know, the Terran's plan against carriers is always going to be kind of a nice timing push, whether it's 2 base, 3 base, just go out and kill couple nexuses before the carriers kind of come online. So that's really what Terran's going to be looking for, but it's going to be up to Ultra to kind of thwart the aggression from Bonyth, and I'd be really surprised. I mean, Bonyth sometimes throws in some Arbiter play, but it'll most likely be something like Arbiter into carriers. So really, especially Ascension, really good map for carriers. So that's exactly what we're going to see here, man. I mean, there's no doubt about it, but it's all about kind of the builds that they're choosing, and so far, seems pretty standard to me.
Yep, thus far, very standard play. We got a barracks grabbing gas. It looks like a factory behind it after getting the 3 SCV in our refinery. Interestingly enough, it looks like we do have a seal along that egg side, potentially to try to mitigate a little bit of early Zealot pressure. We also have Bonyth. Looks like he scouted at the northern base first. He's going to come around, so at least it's going to be a little bit of an advantage getting first scout off with that SCV inside Bonyth's base. But another aspect of Ascension is also for Terran ever grabbing that third, because you have that high ground right above, and there's just so much. Bonyth is an aggressive player, and you know if he gets an opportunity, he's going to press into that. And it's just so, I've seen time and time again, Terran struggle to defend against aggressive Protoss across that third base.
Yeah, you're totally right about that, Diggity. That high ground is a perfect staging ground for an attack. And it looks like
Pocketed SCV
kind of,
up there.
Yeah, he just wants to have that scout at the at the expansion timing. Very smart move from Ultra. He knows he can't get in there before the Dragoon finish it, or to avoid the Dragoon. So late scouting on purpose just to make sure the Nexus is there. But yeah, you're totally right. I mean, it is hard for Terran to get third base, but so far Ultra's natural is on time actually. But he did go for actually a third depot, which generally is very defensive. You generally only go. Yeah. See, I gotta mention this. Ultra's playing very scared. You saw that kind of wall off early on. Does not want to deal with Zealot aggression. But on top of walling off, he also made a third depot, and you never want to make a third depot against Protoss unless they make a Zealot. And Bonyth, really, he's opened with the Dragoon expand. So already right off the bat, Ultra a bit behind build order wise.
Yeah, Bonyth going for the economic ration, and in fact, he's not even fielded. He's only got that single Dragoon fielded on the front to kind of poke at the front door. He is going to have range, so he's going to be able to tap on that bunker. But this time, yeah, immediately going to robotics facility and doing Bonyth things. And in the meantime, that expansion looks like it's smooth. The 3 SCV are back on the Vespene Geyser. Doesn't look like we're seeing a. We'll see if we'll see a second factory momentarily. But yeah, we'll see how Ultra plays from here. Almost, you're right though. The feeling of this is a little bit fear-based. Getting that engineering bay already, and yeah, turrets are. I think it's wise to get that engineering bay down as rapidly as possible.
Yeah, well, these days, TVP, kind of the eBay is mandatory, and just getting turrets up is really good, no matter what you're doing. I think before there was kind of more of a, do you go Academy, do you go eBay philosophy, do you go Goliaths instead to defend? But these days, kind of unanimously, turrets are just really strong at making sure that shuttles don't get in, and they allow you to keep powering. So not surprising here, seeing that eBay. And overall, I mean, really Terran in this matchup, regardless of whether they get a slower expansion or not, the most important thing is to just not experience any hiccups in the early game. And so far, nothing crazy has happened. Sure, the command center is a bit later than he would have liked to, but outside of that, looks like he's setting up very nicely here. Ultra has siege mode already, turrets being placed. The one kind of drawback with the Terran's opening in this situation is he didn't go for early mines. So you can see he has absolutely no map control. Protoss can do anything they want, but Bonyth, being Bonyth, already being aggressive here, and that's actually going to play nicely into Ultra's hands because he has every tool at his disposal to not take damage here.
Ooh, a little late on the SCVs. Is the bunker going to go down? Oh, the bunker goes down! Now the Marines exposed. There's still 2 siege takes behind this, but all of the Marines getting annihilated on that front line. I was about to say, is he going to pull the additional 2 SCVs to get that repaired? And left that. In the meantime, Bonyth setting up a couple pylons as though he's thinking about grabbing a quick third.
Yeah.
But also, on the opposite side, it looked like Ultra is sticking to just a single factory thus far.
So that was a huge pickoff, actually, of the bunker. But because Bonyth is actually playing, he's getting a second factory, just very standard from Ultra. Bonyth, however, is playing very standard himself. He's actually going for this Observer build, which is the least kind of aggressive opening for Protoss. So you can see here, Bonyth probably feels very comfortable against his opponent. I have to mention, they're both on the same team as far as I know. Ultra is still on Sol. So so they must have played a lot of practice games in the past. And Bonyth here, obviously, this is as standard as it gets for Protoss with that robotics opening into the observatory. Gets a couple observers, gets his Nexus out at 6:30 around that time with 2-gate Goon. And behind this, gonna follow up with a Reaver. So still opting to go for that Reaver. It's not gonna be some kind of observer into kind of quad gate Arbiter tech, but very standard from Bonyth. And from here, Protoss gonna take his third, and then gonna look to make a couple shuttles. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw Bonyth go into Arbiters before going to Carriers, but you know, Carriers are gonna come at some point.
This is actually like big plays on both directions as far as scouting information. The late SCV wandering in, seeing that third going up. So lots of information for Ultra, but also that observer needs to get evicted. He's just sitting right on top of that factory line, and Bonyth is a player where if he sees what you are doing, he's going to adjust and make you pay for it. And on top of that, just having eyes in the base to just do his usual thing with the Reavers is not a prospect you want to deal with as a Terran player. But in the meantime, a couple tanks on siege, getting a little aggressive there on the front door.
And Diggity, man, this is why Bonyth is, what is he, like a 3 or 4 time BSL champion? Ultra, he's trying to basically hard counter like a 2-base carrier build. This is like 5 fact, he's going straight, or 6 fact now, he's going straight for a timing attack. And Bonyth, I mean, he knows what people know, like he knows how he plays, but he knows what people think of how he plays. And he's playing a very robust early game style. Actually, this shuttle coming in, the Reaver, so much damage on top of these tanks. And despite Ultra going for this really aggressive opening, oh, okay, actually the subsequent Reaver shots don't quite get the work done. But Bonyth is in a perfect position here. I mean, he's not even making carriers. You don't have to go carriers right away. That's the thing. Protoss, as Terran, you have to establish. Is Protoss going 2-base carrier? Protoss going 3-base carrier? Are they going carriers at all? And Bonyth, I mean, he knows that Terran players know that he goes carriers all the time. So far, just playing super duper standard. And Ultra's gonna hit a wall here because he's only got 6 back. He doesn't have starports. He's not gonna have 2-1 coming behind this. Bonyth, look at his gate count. It's huge. He's got 3 base. He's gonna have everything he needs to do to have, plus the shuttles and the Reavers. I mean, he's not dying to timing attack.
No, and on top of that, it's going to be very, very challenging as far as the economic kick-in from Bonyth and all those gateways behind it. I don't know how Ultra's going to be able to regain map control to establish his third base. A Vulture somehow sneaking through there. Looks like it looks like it managed to get a probe kill. Might even get some bonus, so at least a little bit of a bonus distraction here from Ultra, so getting something out of this and actually really dragging it out. So, but more Vultures moving around the map, so at least good play there. But the shuttle's still out in the field. He didn't lose the Reaver, so he still has the option to go and be frustrating inside the main base. He has, good economic. He's got the economic lead. He's got more Dragoons flooding out. He's got more Zealots marching out. And yeah, we'll see how Ultra turns around. There's that Stargate in the back of that base. Plenty of time to make that transition.
Yeah, I mean, this Stargate most likely at this point still going to be for Arbiters because it is kind of a smoother transition. But as the Arbiters come out, eventually, I mean, it doesn't, you know what, Diggity, I'll be honest with you, it doesn't really matter because Ultra kind of dug himself into a grave here because without that starport, I mean, the thing is, even if you go for this kind of early 5 factory play as Terran, you can still take a third behind the Bulldog. Actually, Terran getting sniped here, double Reaver, so much damage from the Scarab. And I mean, Ultra without Goliaths just has no answer to this shuttle.
On top of that, he delayed upgrades, and Bonyth picking the perfect location to engage right on that gap on Ascension, where the troop line just ends up kind of filtering through as a trickle rather than a 4, and the Reaver just obliterating these 4 tank lines. The Dragoons cleaning up behind this, and Ultra is once again boxed into 2 base, has absolutely no map control, and Bonyth has a sizable army right outside his natural expansion.
Yeah, that's just unfortunate. Completely dismantled. And to be honest with you, Ascension is not very favorable for timing attacks. I mean, you see the architecture of the map, kind of Bonyth using it to his advantage, totally stopping that. And now looking at the supply, I mean, Protoss basically doubling Terran in supply, but not just that. Like you mentioned, Diggity, foregoing those upgrades, Ultra cannot really scale into the late game anymore. And I think Bonit is going to set up here for a killer move.
Yeah, it looks like he's pressing into that natural expansion. The Reaver and some Zealots dropping on that back tank line. And it does not look like there is enough to stem the tide. Looks like some Vultures managed to sneak into the third in the meantime to clear that out. But I don't think that's going to be enough because Bonyth is marching in. There's GG from Ultra. And Bonyth taking the first match to move on to the winner's bracket. Very consistent.
Yeah, GG there from and I don't know, man. I was kind of fortunate. I think Ultra Expand, he was assuming that Bonit would go for kind of a two-base carrier play. And I mean, like I said, Bonit likes his carriers. If you watch him play PvP, he will get carriers at some point. That's his like late game win condition. But that doesn't mean he's one-dimensional. That doesn't mean he can't play in different ways to get up to that point. And that doesn't mean that he's just going two-base carrier every single game. So, and Bonit, I mean, he's amazing anyway. I mean, you know, just because he does one thing doesn't mean he does. First of all, he does it really well, but he knows exactly how to get there and when to get there. Ascension, not really a two-base carrier map. He didn't even open with Reavers. He opened literally kind of 2-gate ops, triple expand,
Very standard.
super standard. And Ultra just tried to blind counter, it didn't quite work. That's going to be a kind of an easy win for Bonit here going into the winners.
I almost wonder, something I've noticed with Bonyth's level of play is he oftentimes will prepare, I can almost tell that he's prepared for these matches, where he already has a mind game going in it. And I think that was the mind game going against Ultra. He's like, he's going to expect me to do this, so I'm just going to flip the script on him, and this is how I'm going to win that match, just heads up. And so game one, just convincingly, top to bottom, controlling the match, which definitely shows you why he is the favorite, and why he's a former BSL champion, and why he has a good shot to take it this season. I think Ultra is going to have to, especially if he's thinking about moving on from this point of the bracket, he's going to have to do some thinking, especially moving into the loser's bracket on that side. Meantime, we do have Squall going up against Janhu, which this could